Alright guys, Tetracrobber here today, and yesterday we got a couple of big news stories coming out around this Denial situation. To follow up on what Natche was saying a couple of days ago, the CEO of Denial, Zach, has stepped down from his post, but it's not necessary, there's always two sides to every story. We're going to try and do our best to go through those today. I kind of want to whiz through Natche's post, because we did talk about this the other day. I think it can be summarized, but I will of course leave it linked down in the description box below. First things first, before we get into it, wanted to mention something quickly about Optic Gaming. It was rumoured, or it was announced that yesterday, on the Wednesday, Hex and one of the guys from Infinite were going to be meeting about the potential of him having some either some role at Immortals, and supposedly the guy he was meeting with is the guy who he's had some, there's some personal vendetta against Hector to not sell him this spot, even though supposedly his group, or Hex group, with Hector and Chris Cheney, supposedly are putting a lot more money on the table than Immortals can at the current time. Some of you guys in the comments were giving, a reasonable idea that it's possible that Immortals would buy the spot off, buy Infinite Esports, then they would keep what they wanted, so the LCS spot for example, and then sell off the Houston Outlaws, and then potentially sell off the Call of Duty team and the Gears of War team for example, back to the Hector group, and whether he can then keep that branding as Optic Gaming, we don't know. But we'll have to see how it goes. I just thought I'd bring those couple of thoughts up at the beginning of the video, because you guys might be onto something, and it's possible that would happen. It's just from the news reports and the stuff that I'm seeing, I'm not sure that's overwhelmingly likely, but we'll have to see. Maybe Optic can live on for at least the next few months before franchising comes around anyway, and all that history gets wiped away. So, okay, let's have a look at Natche's twit longer right here. So, okay. We qualify for the Pro League, we sign at Denial. I don't really want to go through all this, it's basically just a block of text, but I just wanted to go through the final paragraph really. So, alright, so anyway, they play the Pro League, and they get replaced by Rated Joe, Alex and Brack, of course, on this new Denial team, and it looked like they were going to be going to Elevate, but supposedly they're, he's not the happiest with Whalers. Okay, so let's just read through the Whalers bit real quick. Finally, it was too good to be true, so we learned in the night before our announcement at Elevate everything was ready that Whalers was denied his place on Denial because Rated did not want him. He was then asked to play with Assault, which is, the impression I got from the Rated interview a while ago. So we decided to take our place and probably going to cry at the CEO of Denial, which is Zach that we're talking about here, because he's a very good friend, not this Zach, to make that clear. Yeah, so very close friends. They created this roster, or Breezy is forced to play without asking him. 3 weeks ago, I had a call with Zach Nathan, a different Zach, to find out that it was going to be in relation to our salaries, 15,000 per person. So this is what they're supposedly owed, 15k a person, and in the lawyer effectively said that in their contract there is no such salary, so they deserved $0. Now obviously this is it seems a tad bit misleading, because the lawyer's saying they owe nothing, but they had a salary which is 15,000. So we'll go on to what the CEO's explanation of this is in just a second here. So anyway, and then we also have this story of Denial not paying overtime for their league spot, which we'll go on to in a second. There's a few different things going on. So real quick, this is Natche's DMs with the CEO Zach here. So any news on our visa paper? 22nd of April. Just getting up. I have a call with my attorneys after the flight at 12:07 here now. Okay, thank you. Thumbs up, thumbs up. Any news now? Crazy layovers. I have a call at 2. You're my top priority. Okay, that's cool, bro. Never got crazy layovers until I met you guys, etc, etc. Okay, so Natche basically titled these tweets "Lies, Lies and More Lies." So let's go on to the CEO's response. So Zach says the following here: effective immediately, should be an E, but we'll forgive him. I will no longer be handling the day-to-day business operations of Denial Esports. Denial Oracle will assume these duties. So let's go through this post here. I want to go through this in a little bit more detail. We're aware of the recent allegations made by a former player of our team regarding alleged outstanding payments to him. At Denial Esports, we truly believe in the motto, for the players, by the players. It's quite interesting, because a lot of players on Twitter, current Pro League players like JCap, Attach, all these guys, players that won the World Championship on Denial back in Advanced Warfare, coming out and saying like, new owners, because the Denial owners are different now than they were back in the day. They were like new owners, same scummy org or whatever. So this could be seen as a little bit ironic. It's an interesting way to start, I guess this is almost a press release. While we're not able to fully comment on the situation due to legal restrictions, we understand how important our employees' finances to them, and contrary to popular belief, we do not want to see anyone homeless or in a financial bind due to esports. The reason we entered esports was to rectify many organizations' practices of mistreating their players. Like, all this stuff can be seen as pretty ironic given the situation. The court of public opinion is one thing, but the court of law is a whole other thing, and that kind of does give a little bit of precedent to where we're going in this here. So anyway, recently a former player was accused us of not paying him any salary for his contributions. While that statement is technically true, he did not say why he didn't receive payments characterized as salary. It is important to note that this player knew and agreed to the entire situation, and even signed a declaration to joining our team confirming his understanding and acceptance. So what this effectively means, and we'll have a look at it in just a second here. This is probably an easier way to do it. This was only done due to existing immigration laws regarding work authorization and visas. Since we were not legally permitted to pay a player a salary until such a time the proper visa had been issued, we decided to find a stopgap situation. So supposedly, in Natche, and I guess the rest of the players' contracts, there was a stipulation that they had to have a P1 visa in order to receive a salary. If they didn't have a P1 visa, then they weren't entitled to it. Now, interestingly, Zach's his bio on Twitter is "It's nothing personal, just business," which kind of sums this up because, well, I guess they are acting within the law here. It's not exactly a nice way to go about things, but if Natche and the guys did agree to this contract, then I guess they are within their rights not to pay the salary, even though obviously it's not the best thing from a public opinion standpoint. But I guess nothing personal, just business, as Zach would say. So we've initially begun preparing the necessary visa documents so that we could get our immigration counsel prepare the visa application for our approval and subsequent filing on the appropriate visa work. So then he decided that he was going to go back to France instead of boot camping. Not sure how legit this is. I think maybe he mentions it in the previous tweet long about, there's always different sides of the argument here. So anyway, they got in contact with an agent and a translator. After several follow-ups on our part, the player, without our knowledge, made these false public allegations and seems to have disclosed some confidential documents. In spite of this, as a show of good faith, we've set up an escrow account with funds to cover the alleged owed salaries of the player, which I don't know if that's true. Haven't had confirmation from Natche whether that is indeed the case. As a company, we must abide by the laws of the US government, and we are following the letter of the law, which I don't doubt. We have not acted out of malicious intent, and in fact assisted these players and other players with many financial obligations. I feel like when you've got a tweet longer that's constantly saying, oh, we've acted in good faith, we really care about the well-being of the players, it always kind of sets off a thing that maybe that's not fully true. So anyway, under Zach's tenure as owner of Denial Esports, we've achieved many great things, and it's decided that due to these circumstances, we think this is an appropriate time for Jerry Nguyen, I really don't know how to pronounce that Vietnamese name, it's very tough, to take a more active role in the daily operations of Denial Esports. So Jerry comes from a background, so they're changing operations. So Jerry and our current CEO, Pat, will work hand in hand to improve all facets of the business operation of Denial Esports. Under this new leadership structure, we will endeavour to continue our path to obtain the community's trust in us as we take care of our players. #Wolfpack. So yes, you can make up your mind on this. I think Edgar, this is a rich guy, he said the following. So the player is upset that they signed a contract for zero salary and didn't secure their own P1 visa. Terrible situation all around, but this changes things. Deserto Mike says, not playing on a technicality, still a scumbag move. Definitely a scumbag move. However, Denial can't legally pay the guy. Which is basically the situation. Because Natche doesn't have this P1 visa, which of course I'm sure Denial could have made some strides to say, this is kind of what you need if you want to get your money. But because he doesn't, they actually cannot legally pay him by this document. Now, this escrow account, or escrow, however you're meant to pronounce that account, has supposedly been set up, but I don't know about that. If he was subsequently dropped before he acquired a P1, which he hasn't stated whether he has or not, that's also on him for not having a termination clause. Now, the biggest issue is this transfer from Overtime to Denial, which we're going to look at right now. So, Overtime tweet the following. Overtime after qualification for the CWL Pro League. And we have this. This is the English message. Today, through this message, we want to break the silence. As some have noted, overtime. So if you guys remember, this French team, they qualified under overtime at the Pro League qualifier. Then they were bought out by Denial. Overtime has continued to evolve in recent years in Call of Duty for amateur for Pro League. We have quickly reached a stage of development where funding is essential to keep our operations going. We've had extraordinary journeys of our players who qualify for the Pro League, and it's very hard to let them go. We respected an arrangement that was made before they came to us at CWL Vegas, where I remember this at the time. When they came to Vegas, they were like, okay, if we do make the Pro League, then you sell us on to a bigger organization kind of thing. Then it was an evil for a good in the end. Of course, this is translated from French, so might not be perfect. The money recovered from the spot would have allowed us to prosper our projects and make us pass a new level in esports. Unfortunately, nothing has happened as planned. We're still waiting for a sum of tens of thousands of euros for the sale of the CWL Pro League spot that we got earlier this year. Measures have been taken and procedures have been launched. We want this story to come to an end. Unfortunately, we cannot go into any more detail at this time. So supposedly, Denial haven't paid overtime for the league spot yet. I find it interesting how this is several months after the league spot was sold, like 4 months now nearly after the league spot was sold, but yet you didn't get the money at the time. It's just an interesting way to conduct business. So yeah, it's interesting to say the very least. I'm sure more will come out in future days. So Kevin Hitt over at the Upcomer here, I'll leave this down in the description box below, probably puts a little bit more eloquently this situation than I did. So Zachary Smith, that's the CEO's name, will be stepping down from running day-to-day operations to focus on other endeavours, sources have told Upcomer, and of course he revealed this in his Twitlonger. So yeah, okay. After a Twitlonger posted by Natche demanding payment of $15,000 in salary he never received, the post by Natche started a torrent of former business partners, which is JCap and the like, going at him on Twitter. So look. However, at the time the contract was signed, Natche was still in the US on an electronic system for travel authorization visa, which is the ESTA, which Edgar was talking about, which meant he was not legally able to take on salary as an employee of a United States business. Okay, on February 16th, he signed a 2-year contract that had no specified salary amount. Instead, the provision read that a player shall receive a salary to be negotiated in good faith between the parties per a month to be paid on the 10th day of the month by the company. And due to the situation where Natche never received a P1 visa, which is what aliens, which is always a funny way to put it, entering the United States must possess in order to perform for payment for prize money. With no P1 visa, Denial cannot legally pay Natche and will most likely have to go through the court system to recover the money. So, of course, a very interesting story that is still developing. I'll leave this linked down in the description box below. Okay, so let's go through the Pro League from last night while we have the chance here. Match number 1 was Midnight versus UYU. Nearly a reverse sweep happened here. Midnight looked comfortable the first 2 maps. I did predict them to win. And then, UYU's S&D continues to be absolutely tragic. Like, it's just so painful to watch. That really cost them in the series. They lost game 2 and game 5 pretty damn comfortably overall, just completely lost in search at the current time. Their S&DK's KD is not looking the prettiest, even though Royalty had an absolutely ridiculous map 4 when he started off 12-0, 14-1, got streaks, got a 5-piece with the Grav Slam, just unbelievable really. But they still lost the series. Then we had Optic versus FaZe. This was a crazy one. Scraps went off, 108 kills, 1.5 KD over the series. Ridiculous stuff. Map number 1 was crazy. Optic are up significantly, 120-7 off the first set of rotations, or that was the score a couple of hills in. And then right at the end, FaZe did the classic. Optic have done it to other teams in the past on Seaside, locking down the fountain towards the end. Really good comeback from FaZe, to be honest. Scraps went off towards the end. 250-247. Very close turn of events, but yeah, impressive stuff from FaZe to take map number 1. Game 2 was just ridiculous. Karma, as you can see here, he has a 3.3 S&D KD over the course of the series. He went 12-0 this map, clutching 1v1s, 1v2s, all over the place with the KN in hand. So Karma didn't even die map 2, 12-0, completely destroyed them on frequency search. Then game 3, Control, it was 3-1. This is a very interesting one because in round number 4, Optic had an advantage. They were up like 16-11, something like that on the attacking round. It went down to a 2 versus 4 in favour of Optic Gaming. TJ had a lightning strike, and well, it was like a 5 versus 4 at the time, but TJ had a lightning, decided not to call it in and not back down. He got overwhelmed, and then it was a 4 versus 2. Scraps was playing so damn well. He had a 2 KD this map, 33 and 17, or 35 and 17, I think might have been his finishing KD. He played so well, he got a War Machine twice before Optic expected it, so they didn't have Flak Jacket out or anything like that, and he could take them down pretty easily. And even then, having the balls to pull it out in a 2 versus 4 was impressive. They ended up winning that to go up 2-1 in the series. Optic won, Arsenal hardpoint relatively comfortably, and then Game 5 Search and Destroy was pretty back and forth. Optic closed it out in the end, you know, some good plays and some real clutch moments from Optic Gaming as well in that Game 5. Their clutch factor has not been great in the respawns by any means as of late. You know, Game 1, 250-247, lose a big lead. Game 3, Control, they should have won that round 4. Look back at London, for example, you know, against 100 Thieves, that Control where Kenny gets the 3-piece, they throw a couple of rounds away here. So Optic their clutch factor has not been what it was at Vegas when they were winning championships, but in this Search and Destroy it was still very good, and their Search and Destroy generally has been very, very good as of late. So quickly romping through the last couple of series here, Rec actually beat Gen G. This is pretty crazy. Map number 1 was very comfortable. Reciprocity won a round 11 in map number 2. Game 3 incredibly comfortable for Gen G as well, but then Reciprocity somehow didn't throw away an Arsenal hardpoint. They were down quite significantly in this one, made a huge comeback, and then right at the end, Gen G were bringing it back. We've seen it so many times when Rec have thrown away games here on Game 4 Arsenal hardpoint, but they didn't this time, and then they won Game 5 Frequency Search. Havoc had a ridiculous 1v2, but then Tommy's 3-piece with the sniper really catalyzed them, and they ran away with it. Impressive stuff, really. S&D KD's looking very, very strong here for Reciprocity, and once again, Gen G losing a Game 5 fashion, which not something you're typical to seeing from this team. You know, earlier in the season, they were a guaranteed lock, at least for one of the S&Ds. And right here, it doesn't happen. Envoy goes off, though. So does Dylan on the side of Reciprocity. Are you not entertained? And the final series of the day, LG versus EG. EG smoked him. Well, I don't know about smoked, but I was predicting EG to win this one. Both the hardpoints were not close at all. 250-60, 250-128. Just mind-blowing, really. Like, look at the KDs here at the side of LG just getting completely destroyed. Phantoms had a 2 KD. So yeah, EG looking very, very comfortable at the current time. Impressive stuff from them. But also LG just woeful. And yeah, EG finally get a win on the board. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like if you did. Subscribe if you are new as always. I'd greatly appreciate it. And yeah, liking the video is the best thing you could possibly do to help me out. You know, lets more people see it. And YouTube likes that stuff. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching as always. And I will see you next time.